morning. Welcome to another episode of Papa's Workshops. These are for Adam, Brady, Luke, and Brenna, and all those others that like seeing an old man make sawdust. But before we get started, we need to check in with my assistant. There she is. My best assistant I've ever had. Yes, my good girl. You ready to get started? You know what's next, don't you? Okay. You see, I got the taller corner columns done, and so that's dry fitted up against the side, so that'll be how it looks. And then there'll be this piece in the front, which will go up in these notches like that. There's sort of like a face frame in the front. So what we're ready to do is cut these. You can't probably see it there, but I need to cut these all to the same length. These are all the vertical parts. We need to cut to the same height. See, so this goes all the way up there, but they're not quite all the same. So I need to trim all of those. And then, with all of them cut to length, we need to start on the dovetails for the top and the bottom to the sides. Now, these blocks are not glued to the rest of the post just yet. We have this kind of an arrangement with it. But we're going to, the dovetails, it's actually dovetailed to the bottom of this as well. I'll show you a picture of that before we get started. But right now I need to cut these all to length. All right, we are ready to start cutting the tails for the dovetails. So I got them laid out here on this is the top. The top and the bottom are slightly different thickness. The top is thinner. That has to do with what we have to do on the inside, but we'll get to that later. So I got them laid out, and this one at the end is a different, here's a picture of our case, right, laying down, and we're looking up, and right here is that square post that's at the end of the corner column, and you see it has a different size dovetail than the rest. So I've made that allowance for that. So we'll cut all these tails, and then we'll fit these pieces together. This piece right here is part of the face, what I'm calling the face frame. It has a mitered joint in the front. So this is what you would see in the front. You just see this miter, but when it's laying down, we see this block is on the other side, but it's the same idea. That little block is that piece coming down. So once we get the outside all done, the sides and the top and the bottom, then we'll fit these inner pieces that act like a face frame. So right now we need to cut all these tails. I did put in the dados for the dividers. Not a really good picture, but these two here are the only fixed vertical dividers. So I made dados in the top and the bottom for those two. The rest of these are all removable. Then the vertical ones, there's two on each side, and I went ahead and put the dados in the sides for that. But the rest of this, I don't have all this cut yet, so we'll work that out later. And it's a different distance anyway, because the sides go all the way to the top of the case, and then these are just going to be in the dados. So this is what there's the two dados, and then I got a rabbit in the back for the back. So I did that now so that I would make sure that when I laid out the dovetails, I was missing that, and everything will fit together the way it's supposed to, theoretically. All right, we got the tails all cut. These are not going to be seen at all, so don't spend a lot of time on them. So I just cut them with a handsaw, and then cut the waste out with a coping saw, and then chopped the edges square. And there's other videos that I've made, and there's probably thousands of videos on doing dovetails. It's not a big deal, really. Do a couple, make a couple of shop cabinets with a lot of drawers, and do all hand dovetails. After you do that, then you'll be able to do these pretty quick. You know, all the jigs for doing it with a router or whatever, it takes so much time to set that up that really, you have so much more flexibility by being able to do it by hand. And it's all about being able to saw to a straight line. These, on the tails, the only thing that's important is that this cut here be square, right? I mean, if it was tapered, then but the angle of the actual dovetail is really not critical. In fact, you can probably see on mine, I didn't always. I just did it quick. So, yeah, I don't see that one. That one was off a little bit there. But it really, like I said, it isn't important, because we're going to trace whatever this ends up being onto the other piece. So this part of it, you can use a bandsaw to cut these. I've seen people do it with a table saw. I would have probably used the bandsaw if I had a lot of them, but this is such a big piece that it's a little more awkward on the bandsaw. So I just did it by hand. Anyway, so now the next step is we have got to do the actual pins for the dovetails. All right, so this is going to be the piece that goes on the front, and this is part of our frame that's going to have that mitered lap joint, whatever I did with that board. Anyway, oh, it's right here. So we're going to have this kind of arrangement on that front. So that is going to be set back by the distance of this block. So this is just this one dovetail right there is going to be in this block. So, but first we have to get it, see if it fits in there like this. See, we need to get that notch that I've got outlined. We got to get that down by the thickness of the top and the bottom. Then we can set it there and trace the actual dovetail in that. We want to do this front edge first, because that's what's important. We want that all to be flush, as close as we can get it, and you know, any slop, we want that to show up in the back. So my next step before I can actually trace the pins is I got to get all of these blocks down that same little cubicle down, and in the end grain that's not going to be easy. So I'm going to take a handsaw on this line down to this point, you know, come in this way. I can only go that far, and I can maybe come in this way and this way, and then it's going to be a matter of just chiseling it out. But that's why I didn't glue these on yet, because this is a whole lot easier to hold on to these than it would be the whole column. So let's get to chopping. All right, made the saw cuts. So I got this one and this one. Oh, I had it, yeah. So that's all the way down. I was a little proud of the line on this one, but that'll be easy to trim. And then, and so the last cut, and you see I made it a little chisel mark first, so it's like a ramp, and it helps me keep that right in there. So that's all the way down there. So now we just chop this all out to the lines. All right, we got all four chopped out. So now we need to trace the dovetails onto under these blocks to make the pins. All right, so we're set up. Trying to get the alignment right. I mean, there's nothing's very big, so you know, it could be crooked this way, that way. So I just have this little board clamped onto the edge, and then the front that's going to be there to get me spaced, and I can look down that and make sure that I am straight this way. And putting this mark in, I couldn't use the marking gauge because, you know, we got the ledge in there. So these are 1/2 inch tall. So I took a 1/2 inch block ahead of time and made this line there. So I've got that reference. So I'm pretty well lined up, and I went ahead and marked it, and this is what it's going to look like. I did the other one, so that's what it looks like. So we just got 3 more to do here. Then we'll be ready to do the sides. All right, so I got it marked. I put a chisel and I put a little notch there to get my saw in line, and so I was able to get that far, and then with the heel I got down in that far. So this is just like another blind dovetails, but it's just you can't get all the way down in there. So I did that on the other side, and then you see I drilled a Forstner bit down to the bottom of that hole. So now all that will chop out pretty easy. All right, we're set up to mark the pins on the side. You see, so I got this one in place. We got it clamped tight, and so we just mark those, and so we got the scribe line to tell us that we're square this way, and we just chop those out like any other half-blind dovetail. All right, we got one done. My assistant gave it the okay, but it was a little tight right in here, and it kind of pulled those lobes up a little bit. But like I said, this is not going to be seen at all, so it's no big deal. But we got this nice and tight. It's just, yeah. So we just got to do that on the other 3 joints. All right, we got the dovetails all done in the sides to the top and the bottom, so we are ready to start gluing up. So got all the pieces here. I'm going to glue up one side. I did one already, so I got this clamp here to make sure it's in line with the bottom of that, and so that's what the side of it's going to look like. So I'm going to glue this second one, and then we'll let that set up, and then we'll glue the top and the bottoms on. So we're getting there. All right. I was getting ready to glue the top and the bottom, and I realized that I may have trouble putting on this side piece, or it's not the side, but it's the front face frame. We got these little lips here, so I can't slide it in that way, and the bottom is going to be up against this, so I can't go that way. I can maybe have wedged it between top and bottom and got it in there this way, but I thought it probably just would be better if I went ahead and glued these on next. So I have made the notches for the top or the bottom, depending on which one. And then I made a saw cut at 45 that's halfway deep. I have to trim that, so it's going to look like this, right? We've got that mitered lap joint, so the top or bottom piece will come out this way, and it'll have a notch inward, and then 45 there. So just trimming things to get this to fit right, and then I'm going to glue those on, and then we'll do the top and the bottom. That was a lucky break for my assistant. Notice that. All right, here we got one. The sides are glued up, so that's what this is going to look like. And so we got our mitered lap joint at the top and at the bottom, and there's the inside view. But there is one more thing I forgot, and my assistant again, she reminded me. I got to put a little bit of a rabbet back here for the back. We're going to have a back piece that's about 2 inches right here. It's going to be equal to this guy, and then there's a liner that goes across there. So we got all this empty space in there, perfect for secret compartment. In fact, the original had one on this upper right hand panel came out, that the liner came out, and it was up there. So we're going to do that. I'm not sure how they accomplished that, but we'll figure out something for us. And then I might put another one in there somewhere. Such a good space. So I just got to put that notch in the back. I'm not going to go all the way to the top, because then we'd lose it there. So I'm going to stop right there, so we've got a little bit of meat, and I just want enough to hide these dados from the back. Then we're gonna glue that piece in after we've got the dividers in, and that, like I said, that'll help support the liners. And then the back itself, the last thing we do is the back. It's going to be 1/2 inch thick, and it has to be the primary wood because it's going to be seen from the inside. But that's much later, much later. All right, we finally got it glued up, and we checked that it's square by measuring corner to corner and comparing the two, and we're on the money. So we are good to go. So now we need to fit these strips in here with that 1/2 miter lap. And there's my assistant helping me while he's right there in the foot. Here at the bottom, we have this 1/8 inch flat, and that's on purpose, because when this sits on the lower case, the molding is going to cover 1/8 of an inch. So that miter will look perfect once we get that, once it's in position. And that's going to be the next step after we get these guys in, is I have to come up with some way of attaching this to the desk part. So that'll be a different episode there. Right now, we just got to get these adjusted. All right, we've got the shell pretty much completed. See, I got the lap miter joints in, and that's glued in, and the columns are done, except for there is going to be a straight molding underneath this that goes here and there. We'll probably wait on that so I don't knock it off when I'm moving this around. But otherwise, the shell is done. This is not really how it's going to sit. The original, it sets up on a spacer about 5/8 of an inch, and then the molding that goes in front only covers this bottom 1/8 inch. And I've got the molding run out, so that's kind of what that's going to look like, except that this cabinet will be up 5/8, and that'll cover all of these dovetail joints in the lower case. but we're there. See, here's the top. So that'll do it for this episode. We'll next one we'll work on mounting this to the lower case with the spacer and put in the fixed dividers. So that's it. Thanks for watching.